Hi, everyone. This is Ms. Rebecca with Upward Bound. We have a short presentation today. We're going to talk about note-taking. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen with y'all in just a second here. And we are going to talk about the note-taking methods, process, best practices, all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you take notes on the note-taking presentation, but if you want to hold back and just watch and experience it first, it is going to be loaded onto YouTube. So you can watch it at your leisure, watch it a second time, take more notes. I know we are all quite passionate about it. So let's get into it. The first thing that I want to say, as much as we love and promote the hands-on experience that can come with learning, the reality is that most classrooms are heavily lecture-based, whether they're high school or in college. And in order to actually get the most out of that lecture content, you need to be confident, capable, comfortable when you are taking notes. It is going to be a lot of work at first, learning which note-taking method works best for you, learning which method works best for the subject matter, and then just being comfortable going through the process. It does, like any other skill, take practice and take a little bit of time, but the time that you put in to take effective notes now will not only benefit you in high school by increasing your test scores, your ACT scores, but it's also going to help you develop those skills that will absolutely allow you to be more successful in college in those more rigorous academic conditions. So I have this little graphic here to start us off because I want to really emphasize that note-taking is crucial for the learning process. No matter how active a listener you are, which is an important skill, it's not enough. You need to actively engage in the learning process, and that one of the key ways to do that is through note-taking. It's going to help improve your own understanding, and it's going to help with your memory retention. Okay. Let's talk about format. So there's a whole lot of different ways that we can take notes. I am going to talk about just a few of them. I am going to emphasize the handwritten formats. Whether that is something that works best for you in terms of your physical capabilities, you will have to determine that. I am going to tell you now that for those who are capable of taking handwritten notes during lecture or either recording lecture through audio or audiovisual, or whatever your means initially, I will say going back and revising those notes in a handwritten format or another format that works for you, basically just revisiting, is going to make a huge difference in your long-term retention, okay? It's not to say that other methods aren't effective. We're gonna look at the most effective. I'm also going to say that the format of your notes matters. Certainly when we're talking about specific types of note-taking methods, format matters, yeah. But for all note-taking methods, there's a couple of things that you can do with the formatting that will fundamentally help you be more successful. One of those is at the top of your note-taking notebook, which, by the way, y'all should have. Ideally, if you could have a different subject dividers for each of your classes, that would be beautiful. If you're dealing with just one notebook, then you may want to have dedicated a different ink color to the subject or some other format so that you can kind of differentiate it from your other classes. And if you need those tools, could you do me a favor and please hit up your coordinator so that we can help supply you with those notebooks or pens or whatever it is that you need in order to be successful for class, okay? So anyway, top of the notebook, we're going to have the date that you are listening to the lecture, the time, and by that, it could be the class period, it could be the time. If it's a presenter, you may want to have it a little bit more detailed than just the class period. And you want to have the class or the teacher's name or the presenter's name and or all of it. okay? Part of that is so that you can kind of keep the notes separate from the next day or the next lecture. The other reason is for referencing back the notes later. Let's say a week later, you are talking about a subject that was mentioned earlier. It's nice to then be able to go in your notes and say, see, I don't know, February 2nd, biology class. And that tells you a little trigger, a little reminder, oh yes, if I go back, I'm going to see relevant information in my notes at that date and time. Okay, same thing with page numbers. Numbering your pages allows for one, just tidiness, but also it allows you to do those kind of referential marks later when you're going back and studying for exams or want to reference other information. Okay, leave space beside and below in your notebook. So this may mean that you are going to an aligned notebook. You're going to leave one of those lines blank in between the next line of information that you fill in. And when I say beside, this is particularly important for Cornell note-taking method, which we'll talk about later, but for all of your notes, leaving at least a 1 to 2 inch margin can be really helpful so that you can go back in and fill in information, put little image or words or phrases as prompts for that information. And it's helpful during the studying process later on. Okay, make a key. What this means is that we are going to recommend that you use shorthand, abbreviations, symbols, whatever it is in order to kind of quicken the pace of the note-taking process, because there is no way you're going to get down every important piece of information if you are trying to write your notes longhand, complete words, full syntax, punctuation, paragraph style. Please don't do that. Your hand will start cramping before you get anywhere close to getting all of the information that you need. Instead, use abbreviations for words, shorten them up. You can use arrows or whatever it is to kind of help convey the information that you're getting down, so long as you know what that information is. So that may mean that you need to make a key at the top or top of the page, or maybe the very beginning of the notebook, that lets you keep track of what your different abbreviations and then symbols and whatnot all mean. You don't want to be stressed out later on when you're going back and revisiting these notes for the umpteenth time to realize that in the stress of it and the overwhelmingness of preparing for your tests, you have no idea what your notes mean. That's not super helpful for anyone. And the same thing goes with keeping it neat. When we're in a rush to write down all of the important information that we're getting in class, it's tempting to just scribble as fast as we can, which if you are one who can decipher your own scribbles, even if no one else can, then hey, more power to you. That's fine. I feel that. That is my life. But if you are the type who in your speedy scribbles, you go back later and you have no idea what some of those words are, that can potentially be problematic. So find that balance. It's going to come with time, going to come with practice, just like any other skill. Okay. All right. There are actually 3 important points to, or like time periods of the note-taking process. And some of that happens before you even get to class. There are things that you can do before class starts to help you be more successful when you are taking notes in class. Part of it is just making sure you have your supplies on hand, either the night before or the morning. If you're not too rushed, make sure you've got your notebook, your pens, your pencils, erasers, any textbooks that you need for class, have it all ready to go. That way you're not stressed out trying to last minute scramble to find things once class and lecture starts. That can put you in kind of a stressed out state that makes it harder to pay attention, or you just may miss something in your scramble to find the stuff that you need. The other thing is I recommend, again, the evening before, the morning before, if you have time, if you have a few minutes before class starts, go ahead and breeze through those notes that you took, either the previous class period or the last few class periods, whatever it is, going to get that information fresh in your head. It's going to allow you to ask questions if there was anything that you realized, like, wait, I thought I understood it, turns out I totally don't. So then you could start class asking those questions. Or it allows you to just better connect to the material that we're going to talk about in class that day with stuff that you learned previously, okay? During class, a couple of things that you'll want to do. If you have control of it, there are some things, especially in high school, you don't have control over. One of those is the seating arrangement. If you have a class that does allow you to move your seats, then I highly recommend sitting up front. You'll be able to see the board better, hear better, and you're less likely to be distracted by peers because they're behind you. You can't see necessarily what they're doing. Again, not everybody has that control. Take it if you can. If not right now, just know it's highly recommended for when you get to college, when you do frequently have a lot more control over where you sit. Okay. Another thing that I highly recommend during class, again, if you're allowed to, if your teacher allows you to ask questions during lecture, y'all ask questions, please. I know it is scary to do. I know there is that fear. I am a grown adult and I still get that same little bit of nervousness when I'm at a professional development meeting and I don't understand what they're talking about and I have to raise my hand and ask a question, but it helps. And if I'm the one asking the question, someone else is going to be thinking it too. If you're the one in the class wondering what the heck they're talking about, someone else is thinking it too. So be brave, be that leader, be that upward bound, strong kiddo that you are, and please ask questions. It's going to allow you to be more active and engaged and alert during the class period lecture. And it's going to tell your teacher, hey, I'm interested in this material. I want to do well in class. And teachers always like that. And since teachers are the ones who are grading you, we always want to make sure they know that we care about being successful. Okay. The last important time period in terms of note-taking is after class. Remember that previous graphic that showed that within 9 hours, you were already starting to forget some of the key information that you learned. Within 24 hours, you want to have reviewed your notes. That means going back into the notes that you took in your classes, reading through them, making sure you can understand what you read, filling in any parts that as you were breezing through, maybe you only wrote down half of a term because you had to keep going. So go back in, finish writing down whatever that term was. If there is a connection that you made to your notes that kind of like popped into your brain later and you want to add that in there, please do all of that. That will help you not only better understand the material in the moment, but again, keep that long-term retention, which is really what we're going for. We're talking about skill building, having that information easily accessible for you when you get to your tests, either at the quarter, at the semester, your yearly finals, or especially with like ACT testing, math skills, not having to do final crayons right before you go in your ACT, and instead just having that comfortably, confidently in your long-term memory is going to make a much better experience. All right, the first of the 3 note-taking methods that I'm gonna briefly talk about, I'm not gonna go too much into detail because you have a copy of this PowerPoint for yourself that you can look at this more in depth, but I wanna just give you a quick visual of what the outline method looks like. It's probably the most commonly seen and used one, and it's nice, it's basic, it's easy. We put a main topic on there and we add our subpoints. If we have a couple little pieces of information for the subpoint that we can do, we toss it in there, we move on to the next main topic. These are not going to be complete sentences. These are probably not going to be punctuated. You can use bullet points, dashes, stars, flowers, hearts, circles, whatever you want to do to kind of differentiate your topics, your subpoints, and your facts. So long as your system is consistent, there is no wrong system. I find that this is especially helpful if you have the type of class or lecture where they almost outline it for you as you're going over it in class. I mean, let's just go ahead and keep rolling with that outline then. However, that is not everybody's style, either as the presenter or the listener, and that's okay. That's why we have different methods. Another one that is potentially very effective for you is the mapping method. I tend to go to this one in my just very lecture heavy classes where the teacher has a tendency to kind of bounce from point to point. This can make it really helpful because you can kind of like cloud map your main ideas. You can have them spread all over your page, and then you can draw arrows connecting one to the other. You can leave room to add different kind of subpoints like a tree branch would have. And it just allows a little bit more flexibility than the outline method allows for. For some people though, honestly, this can be a little overwhelming visually. This can just be too much, too messy. And if it's not your jam, that is absolutely okay. I recommend you try all of these methods before you determine which one is best for you, because you just don't know until you try it. And the class itself may make a difference in addition to just your own note-taking preferences. All right, the last one is maybe one that you've had to do in class as a assignment just to kind of force you to try it out. And the reason that the Cornell method is often assigned as its own separate homework assignment is because it's a little bit complicated on its surface, okay? Once you actually start practicing using it, it's not complex. It takes a little bit of time, but all good note-taking methods do. The basis of the Cornell method is that you have a divided notebook paper. I will tell you right now, there's actually lots of different printables available online for free that you can use if you don't want to have to divide out your notebook paper yourself. You do you. On the right-hand side, this is where you're going to put your notes down during the class lecture, okay? This is all of the main ideas and the details that you would do, for example, in like the outline method, okay? You have to go quick, you have to keep it small because you only have a portion of your notebook paper to take it. Once that's done, later, after class, ideally within the next 12 hours before you go to bed the next day, please look at those notes, and on the left-hand side, put down some more of the main ideas, prompts, words, even images that might help you trigger a memory of what you wrote in class. This can also include questions or connections to other things. There's not necessarily right or wrong so long as it's related to and helping you kind of get a little bit more depth and expansion of those notes that you took in class. I'm a very visual person. I like to doodle. You don't have to do that if that's not your jam. I like to use different colors for different types of connections. You don't have to do that if that's not your jam. Do what works for you. All right, the last part, summary, is really important when we're talking about that long-term memory connection, okay? This is when you are going to cover up those main notes, look at just your cues and recall information. It's kind of a way of testing yourself, making sure that you actually understand it well enough that you can move on for these notes from the night. Oh, going back in time. Here we go. I actually wanted to bounce back to this real quick. And the reason for that is I want to mention, you can use the Cornell method during class. If you feel that it's too cumbersome for whatever reason to manage during the lecture, you can take your other notes, the outlining, the mapping, the whatever, and then turn them into the Cornell method. It's another way of practicing, of getting that kinesthetic learning with the handwritten notes. And it's a really effective tool for preparing for exams. So is it the best method? Not necessarily. Is it a highly effective method for the right learner and used to the best of its ability? Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're almost wrapped up here. Couple of quick tips. I am not going to read through these because y'all can read, but I am going to reiterate the most important note-taking method that you can use is the one that you actually use, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, I think all of you need to practice using these methods. Build healthy skills that you can continue to build in high school and college. I am also going to be realistic that This has been a heck of a year, and a lot of us are feeling overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, and the idea of trying 3 new note-taking methods right now may be overwhelming. I get it. Try one at least, okay? Be consistent, do it well, practice the before class, during class, after class best practices that were mentioned earlier in this presentation, because that is what's going to also help make a difference regardless of which note-taking tools you choose. I have at the end of this PowerPoint kind of an awesome little resource of different virtual note-taking tools that you may find beneficial. Again, when you're in the right mindset, go ahead and check these out, see what works for you. I'm going to go back to emphasizing that if you are capable of taking physical handwritten notes, do it, okay? It's going to be more effective. If you don't have that ability, use some of these different note-taking resources to kind of help make sure that you have as much information as possible to be better prepared for exams. Last thing, you got homework. Please do it. Turn in the Google form assignment that we sent you no later than midnight, Friday, February 12th. You do not have to submit samples of your note-taking. However, I will say, students who go above and beyond the basic expectations or an upward bound tend to get WE bonus rewards. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. If you complete a sample of each of the 3 types of note-taking methods that we went over, the outline, the mapping, Cornell, I highly recommend you do it. Your coordinator can give you feedback. You aren't guaranteed a bonus, you'll get a bonus. If you do the 3 sample homework assignments, they're not required. The Google Forms is. If you have any questions, please just hit up your coordinators. We're here, we're happy to help. You will also be getting information in the next week about stipends. So keep your ear and your eyes out for that, okay? We love you all. We hope that you have a beautiful weekend. It's going to be chilly, but hey, stay warm. We love you. Bye-bye.